May 8th, 2026. Friday morning. Something has just happened in the United States that has caused people from all over the world to fix their eyes on a single web address, war.gov/UFO. Journalists, military analysts, investigators of unsolved cases, and ordinary enthusiasts of the unknown. They've all been waiting for this for months. Ever since February, when the US president posted that strange message in which he stated that he would order the Department of Defense, the intelligence agencies, and a whole host of other departments to begin the process of declassifying files on extraterrestrial life, unidentified flying objects, and so-called anomalous phenomena. And now, the long-awaited moment has arrived. A section appeared on the website's homepage with a name no one had ever heard before: PURSUE. This is an acronym for Presidential System for Unclassified Reporting and Evaluation of Encounters with Anomalous Phenomena. Next to the acronym is a link to the initial release of new, never-before-seen files. One click and the download begins. One package contains documents and the other contains videos. After so much waiting, after so many promises, after all those rumors about secret hangars and pilots who've seen things they're not allowed to talk about, the world will finally find out what the US government is hiding. But when the archives are opened, something far stranger than anyone expected happens. To understand why this moment is important, we need to take a brief step back. As we've already mentioned, in late February of that same year, the US president issued a statement in which, due to enormous public interest, he ordered the War Department, as the former Department of Defense is now called, and a number of other agencies to begin the declassification process. The next day, Reuters officially confirmed the directive, and the topic made headlines once again. The topic itself, however, is not new. Since 2017, when the New York Times published that now iconic article about the Pentagon's secret program to investigate anomalous phenomena, the issue has been circulating in the public sphere. In 2021, an intelligence report was released in which the military acknowledged for the first time that it had dozens of cases it could not explain. A year later, AARO was established, an agency whose acronym translates to something like Comprehensive Anomaly Resolution Office. After that, videos filmed by military pilots were leaked. There were hearings in Congress. Former officers testified under oath about programs to reverse engineer alien spacecraft. And yet, despite all the commotion over the years, nothing like this had ever happened before. A presidential directive, a centralized portal, and an interagency effort bringing together the White House, the intelligence community, the Department of Energy, AARO, NASA, and the FBI. And this is where the real question begins, because nowhere in the new portal are flying saucers mentioned. Nowhere does it even say unidentified flying objects. The term that is repeated on every page is anomalous phenomena. So neutral, so careful. It's as if someone spent hours choosing precisely these two words and no others. The first batch, published on May 8th, contains about 160 files, according to Reuters. Space.com counts 161. The Guardian, a little later, will count 162. Interestingly, the official website itself does not list an exact number anywhere. Only the volume of information is specified. It's as if even the number of files is a matter of interpretation. But what's inside? Videos from military sensors, photos from old military archives, eyewitness accounts, materials from the Apollo missions, and a report from 1947, the year of the Roswell incident, the year the term flying saucer first entered the American lexicon. Before the publication, expectations were that we would see something impossible, that there would be some document, some photo, some video that would finally settle the debate once and for all. The reality, however, turned out to be more complex. There are videos, there are photos, there are old eyewitness accounts, there are NASA archives, but there isn't a single file that states in black and white, here, right here, we have an extraterrestrial craft, and here is the evidence. But in its place, there is something else, and that is the accumulation of evidence. On May 22nd, just 2 weeks after the first batch, Release 02 was released. This time, the document package was significantly smaller, about 70 megabytes. The video footage, however, was 5 times larger than the first batch, and it is here in the second batch that the document appears that is starting to cause quite a stir. 116 pages. The title is as dry as any military document. Anomalous phenomena reported at Sandia Base, 1948 to 1950. Reuters describes the content as follows: 209 reports of green orbs, discs, and fireballs over and around a top-secret military facility in the state of New Mexico. Over a period of 2.5 years, there were more than 200 reports, and all of this took place near a nuclear base at a time when the United States was in the process of developing its first thermonuclear weapons. This was not a single incident or a mere coincidence. It was a recurring pattern. There are a few more elements related to Sandia that are also worth noting. A brief description of a CIA report on the observation of an anomalous phenomenon in the Soviet Union, a first-person eyewitness account in which the witness describes the object in detail, an image captured by a radar tower at the Pantex plant, the very plant where US nuclear warheads are still assembled and maintained to this day. The images show specific areas over water in the sky in formation that have been deliberately blurred. This is exactly where the story starts to get strange. In the archives of DVIDS, the US Army's official media platform, certain cases have their own dedicated pages where you can view the video itself, along with a description and an official assessment. One of the most interesting is known as the Middle East Object, a 24-second video filmed by an MQ-9 drone over the Middle East. The footage shows a silvery spherical object. The Pentagon's official statement regarding the classification of anomalies in all areas is carefully balanced. The object does not exhibit anomalous behavior, but remains unidentified because the available data is insufficient. The other notable case is PR-018. It occurred over Europe. The exact location is not specified in the year 2024. 10 minutes and 30 seconds of infrared video transmitted by US forces in Europe to the Pentagon's Office for Resolving Anomalies in All Domains. The wording of the conclusion itself is intriguing. A physical object with a high degree of certainty, but with morphology, characteristics, and behavior that are extraordinary. The case remains unresolved. And the now well-known videos from US Navy pilots, FLIR and Gimbal, which leaked to the public several years ago, now have their own official pages on the portal. And this brings us to something even more intriguing: the edits. The official portal states in black and white what was redacted from the published files before they were made available. Redacted are the identities of eyewitnesses, the exact locations of government facilities, and sensitive information about military sites that has no direct connection to the anomalous phenomena. But let's return to the language, because in this story, it is the key to everything. The Old English term UFO, unidentified flying object, has been abandoned. It has been replaced with UAP, in English, unidentified anomalous phenomena. The word anomalous in this context does not simply mean strange. It means deviating from the norm, from what is expected, from what science can readily explain. There is another point that is often overlooked. These anomalous phenomena are no longer limited to flying objects. The official definition provided by the Agency for the Investigation and Clarification of Anomalous Phenomena in All Media in its annual report for the year 2023 covers 4 distinct domains: air, sea, space, and what is called transmedium, or transitional medium. In other words, objects that transition from one medium to another. They emerge from the water and fly through the air. They enter the water from the air. They pass through the atmosphere without friction. This is no longer a discussion of flying saucers. This is an official expansion of the category itself. But why are they doing this? Perhaps because it can no longer be denied that there are observations that do not fit into any known framework. Perhaps because governments around the world, not just the US government, no longer have the luxury of pretending the problem doesn't exist. Or perhaps because someone has come to the simple conclusion that it's better to control the conversation yourself than to leave it in the hands of conspiracy theories and the YouTube algorithm. The Pentagon itself states this on the Pursue portal. The published cases are unresolved, meaning that the government is unable to make a definitive assessment of the nature of the observed phenomenon. Neither these are aliens nor everything has already been explained. Simply put, we're not sure. This, however, is where we need to hit the brakes a little. Because as impressive as the files may be, and they are indeed genuine, verifiable, and official, not a single one of them proves the existence of extraterrestrial life. This is not our personal opinion, nor is it a skeptical attempt to dismiss the topic out of hand. This is the official position of the Office for the Investigation and Clarification of Anomalous Phenomena in All Environments itself. We quote directly from the Office's historical report from the year 2024. The Office for the Investigation and Clarification of Anomalous Phenomena in All Environments found no evidence that an investigation conducted by the US government confirmed that any observation of an anomalous phenomenon represented extraterrestrial technology. And a little further down, even more categorically, the Office for the Investigation and Clarification of Anomalous Phenomena in All Environments found no empirical evidence for the claims that the government or private companies are holding and dismantling extraterrestrial craft for the purpose of reverse engineering. NASA says the same thing, only in more scientific language. The final report by the independent scientific team from 2023 states, there is no compelling evidence to suggest an extraterrestrial origin for the anomalous phenomena. However, this same report adds something very important. Many of the sightings can most likely be explained by known phenomena. The problem is that there is not enough high-quality data to reach a definitive conclusion. The skeptical voice of Mick West, whose comment was quoted by Reuters, puts it even more simply. According to him, the new videos prove one thing above all else: how difficult it is to identify a small white dot from a great distance. In other words, the problem isn't that we're seeing aliens at all. The problem is that the sensors aren't giving us enough information. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, quoted in The Guardian, goes even further. He criticizes the very inclusion of certain NASA archives in the portal because, in his view, most of these observations have perfectly rational explanations, and linking them to the topic of anomalous phenomena is more misleading than instructive. In other words, unresolved is far from meaning extraterrestrial. It often means the very prosaic, we don't have good enough data. A single sensor, a single vantage point, poorly calibrated instruments, a mirror effect, a bird flying close to the lens, a balloon, a strange meteorological formation. So if someone tells you that the US president has acknowledged the existence of aliens, that person is either lying or simply hasn't read the documents. And despite everything said so far, something about this story is different from before. Because it's no longer just about what they're saying, it's about what they're not saying. For 70 years, the standard response to any question about anomalous phenomena was always the same: a weather balloon, an optical illusion, a misinterpretation. The cases were declared explained. The files were closed. Period. And now, an official government agency is using precisely these words, unresolved, unable to definitively determine the nature, physical object exhibiting unusual behavior. They aren't saying they're aliens, but they're no longer saying they're nothing either. And if just one of those more than 200 reports from Sandia from the period between 1948 and 1950, written by the people who built the first American nuclear weapons, turns out to be true, then the story we've been told about the last 80 years is incomplete. And that is precisely the issue we'll focus on in the next episode. Because Sandia isn't just a 116-page file buried somewhere in a secret archive. Sandia is a model. And within that model lies something far stranger than green orbs over the desert. That was the first episode of the series, The Alien Files: What is America Hiding? In the next one, which you'll see on the left side of your screens, we're heading to New Mexico in 1948 and delving into the strangest old case from the newly declassified archives. If you found this interesting, do what the algorithm loves: like, share, and comment. Stay alert and critical. And remember, what's interesting isn't what we've seen. What's interesting is what we haven't seen yet.